I can hardly wait to read the New York Times from 1933. Hitler is explained. It's great. But first, what we're doing is we're comparing now history for this new great Arab Spring that the president is going to talk about. History yesterday, history back behind me is the leaders of the Arab Spring and talking about how they want to kill the Jews and explaining that the Jews are vermin, which is exactly the same what Hitler said. But don't worry, Hitler was a monster. Arab Spring you should enjoy, you should embrace. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. First, I want to show you, I talked about the borders and said first they come for Israel, the Jew, and then they come for us. And they're using exactly the same words and tactics. I said earlier this week that I'm telling you these two movements are going to be joined. How do I know that? Because the Weather Underground told us that in the 1970s, that this is what they would try to do. Well, let's check out an event held now at the University of Arizona, Denying Ethnic Studies, Arizona to Palestine. Now, so you know, this video, it all comes from this rage here. These are the ones that are saying, I'm being denied my rights because I'm Hispanic and government is evil. And they're being taught to overthrow our government. Right? They're teaching children to hate America. Now, back to the college event. Uniting of two things. What are they uniting? This event was scheduled to promote two struggles united. May I quote? Combat racist attacks on ethnic studies and their right to their cultural education, and Palestinian students fight to retain their cultural personhood and humanity in midst of brutal U.S.-backed Israeli military occupation. Come hear how they unite in their struggles. Oh, I can't wait to see how Ward Churchill and other communists and America haters have tied it all together. The speakers were from Tucson High School. I hope they got the really angry kid. His parents must be so proud. And also kids from Birzeit University in Ramallah, which they label Israeli-occupied Palestine. Arab Spring. The same group was also responsible for organizing this. It's a mock wall on the Arizona campus to represent Israel's wall and the U.S.-Mexico border wall, which we don't have. The goal, quote, to spotlight the lethal effects of U.S. militarization and immigration and border enforcement, all those policies in Arizona, and the U.S.-Israeli-occupied Palestine. Yeah. One of the students described it this way.
Some people might say it's offensive, you know. Some people might say it's unnecessary. However, it's not as offensive as the real walls, like Israel's Palestine wall or our border wall.
Yes, I was thinking nothing like that, but yes. We showed you the protest yesterday at Pastor Hagee's church in which they yelled, "How many acres have you stolen?" And that got my wheels churning. Here it comes. But the students in Tucson, the one thing you haven't heard is how many acres have you stolen? None. 50,000 acres, America. Most of it in Texas has already just kind of been given up to Mexico, just been given up on. It's the same argument. That's what they're trying to get Israel to do now, give up land. That's what they're trying to get us to do, give up land. Israel's giving up land, we're giving up land, but Israel's the occupier, they're the oppressor, they're the thief. Wait a minute, we're the occupier, we're the oppressor, we're the thief. Wow, little Satan, great Satan, you see it? Is it coming together? This is why you must take a stand. This is why you must not allow this to creep. The words behind me are the reason why you can't ever let this creep, ever. It's the same group of people. We as a globe vowed never to let this happen again. There were warning signs back in the 1930s. How do I know? Well, we do our homework. This example from the New York Times, October 1933. They wrote a piece on Hitler's autobiography, and they said, quote, "We know, on undoubted authority, that the very events themselves that the Jews are today relentlessly, coldly persecuted in Germany, and there's enough proof there." Yeah. But the New York Times softened its tone because economic prosperity was returning. So no serious opposition was mounted to Hitler. The Times highlighted the good parts of Hitler. I didn't know there were any. Hitler is doing much for Germany, quoting the Times, his unification of the Germans, his destruction of communism, his training of the young. That's a good thing. His creation of a Spartan state animated by patriotism. That's a good thing. His curbing of paramilitary government or parliamentary government, so unsuited to the German character, you know. His protection of the right of private property, all good. And after all, what the Germans do in their own territory is their own business. You know what I'm saying? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Okay, maybe the, quote, the persecution and the practical expulsion of the Jews. Maybe not that. Okay, let me see to summarize, I think what they have. Hitler is really great. Have you seen Germany and all the happy people? Okay, the Jew thing is really bad. But have you seen all the happy people? Let me ask you, if I ask the president or most people in this administration or in Congress today on the left, what they see happening in Egypt, wouldn't they say, okay, I mean, what's happening in Egypt is great. Have you seen all the people? Okay, the Jew thing is bad, but have you seen all the happy people? That's exactly what they'd say. It's the same thing. Some of the happy people, you remember, were raping Laura Logan from CBS News while screaming, Jew, 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 in that square on that day. Could we get any more comparisons? And do I need to explain any more why it is time to restore courage and take a stand? Enough is enough. But I'm telling you, the hatred of old will come back again. And are we going to repeat the same pattern? Because the world knew it. They knew it. Germans knew it. The rest of the world knew it. But they chose to ignore it. You know it now. I know it. They know it. Will we repeat the choice of the past and choose to ignore it this time? I can't tell the difference between al-Qaradawi and Hitler. Can you? The world knows these people are serious. 9/11, the suicide bombings, they kill. That's what they do. We know they mean it. So why are we ignoring it this time? Let me tell you, I told you about E4, enlightenment, education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. E2 is education. It's important that you know history. Generations from now, maybe one generation from now, maybe your children, if nothing changes in a short period of time, will think that arbitrary killings are happening because of the Israelis, just gunning down innocent Palestinians. And they'll also believe, our children, that America are occupiers. They're occupiers. They stole all that land. Many of our kids are already on that road. How did it happen? Well, I think Barack Obama knows. I mean, his wife knows. I'm sure they talk from time to time. Shortly before she was yanked from the campaign trail, here's what she said, that Barack would have to change our traditions and history. Listen.
And Barack knows that we are going to have to make sacrifices. We are going to have to change our conversation. We're going to have to change our traditions, our history. We're going to have to move into a different place as a nation.
I have to tell you, the more this president does, the more he starts to look like the New York Times in 1933, or worse yet, Neville Chamberlain. In 70 years from now, no, in 20 years from now, people will say, and many of them will be older versions of us, how did we not see that coming? And in 70 years, the whole world will say, how did the people of the world not see it coming? The answer is, you choose to bury your head or look it in the eye. Come on, America. Be the America I know you are. Look them in the eye. If you know history, you know these quotes from Hitler and Hamas. They've both happened in the last 100 years, and the world vowed never to let Hitler happen again. And yet here we are turning a blind eye, and the president speaks tomorrow about a glorious Arab Spring that everyone should enjoy. Everyone perhaps except Americans and Jews, or maybe gays as well, because they'll be stoned to death as well. How about little girls? How about women that walk out without a man in the street? How about that Arab Spring? Explain it to me, please. I'd love to hear it. How we can just shrug off the calls to exterminate Jews and annihilate them, wipe them off the earth, or have people call them vermin or bacteria, and then give a great speech about the great Arab Spring. I'll wait for your call, Mr. President. I've been waiting for some time. America, we don't have museums for our entertainment. It is so well documented, the history of the Holocaust, so it doesn't happen again. We swore we would never let it happen again. Shouldn't we be just a tad hesitant about supporting all the people who are expressing desires to kill mass amounts of Jews? All in the name of compassion. People are right now praying that nobody wakes up. Are you awake? They're praying that you are not taught history. I am telling you right now, if you're in the D.C. area, you go see the best museum in D.C. It's the Holocaust Museum. You must see it. And if you're in any other city, look for a Holocaust museum in your city. Take your kids. They're horrifying, but this must be remembered because of the great Arab Spring. They are also hoping the same thing here on our borders, that you will not remember. How can people not be offended at the parallels here? How can people not see it? And how can you not be offended by America being called the oppressor? Really? Wouldn't it be nice if a history class for once would talk about what America has brought the rest of the world, what the world would look like if America didn't exist? How many Jews would be alive today if America didn't exist? We have made a lot of mistakes, but our good is far outweighs the bad that we have done. And we try not to repeat the mistakes of the past. How is it that we're changing? How is it we're changing our traditions and we're changing in our classrooms? Oh, I remember now. We see it more and more in our classrooms if we don't get involved. Remember, this is a teacher in California here.
This is not just about Mexico. This is about a global struggle against imperialism and capitalism. Yes. But we know that all of that is happening in the context that where we now stand is stolen, occupied Mexico.
You could transplant him over to the Middle East. We are being re-educated to believe that America isn't all she's cracked up to be. Free markets don't work. Capitalism has failed. America is the occupier. We are changing history, and no one says anything about it. You must stand. Restore courage in your own life and stand. Back in a minute.